Hello everyone, welcome back to the Unstoppable Dad Project. Thanks for joining us again for another week or for joining us for the first time. Just before I get into today's podcast, I just want to ask our regular two favors that we ask you. Number one, whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on, if you are able to subscribe, like if you're on Apple, leave us a review because that helps bump us up and get us in front of more people on those podcast platforms. Number two, jump on and follow us on the socials. We've only got two. We've only got Instagram and Facebook. So Instagram is at The Unstoppable Dad and Facebook is The Unstoppable Dad Project. That will help us by jumping on and liking that and also sharing any content, any posts, any of these episodes that I publish will help us obviously grow our audience and get this out there to more people. So a little bit of guerrilla marketing. You help us and we can hopefully keep delivering you this podcast week in, week out. Do apologize for last week. I pretty much went on autopilot last week. We had the sickness run through our household, which started with me. Usually starts with the kids and ends with me, but it started with me. This time we had our son's second birthday last week. And I was obviously a little bit run down. Just needed a little bit of downtime, needed to get better from the thing that knocked me over till Thursday. So I decided just to forego doing a rushed podcast and put it off until this week. And this week, I'm pretty excited to get into the topic that we've got this week. And I'm going to actually spread this topic out over 2 episodes. So this week and next week. So this week, or these 2 weeks, we're going to talk about nutrition. And we're going to talk about things that I've found have worked, my mindset and my approach to it when not only for myself, but working with other people. And to be fair, this is something that I've been asked nutrition questions within the community of dads that we have, whether it be via email, it be through private message, or it be in our Facebook group, since pretty much we launched episode 2. So for basically 12 weeks ago, I've had a multitude of nutrition questions, whether it be, I need ideas to try and help get my diet cleaner. I want to do this and lose X amount of weight. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I've put it off, and I've put it off for a few reasons, but probably the 2 major reasons is, number one, it's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield out there. There are a lot of snake oil salesmen and charlatans that are on the interwebs and on socials who are trying to sell you something, and it is generally this one-size-fits-all deal. It is on the edges. It is on the extremes. And I'm here to tell you that there's no one-size-fits-all. And that's probably because it is a minefield and because there is so much information and misinformation out there. I didn't want to, contribute to that. But the more questions I've got and the more that people have kind of asked me, the more I felt I need to probably contribute my opinion and my experiences to it and the way I approach things. And number 2 is, it's obviously not my core area of expertise. My core area of expertise is helping people become stronger, helping people become fitter. And that is what I've been doing for over the last decade. And there is a large component of that where we do have to look at nutrition and we have to look at fueling the body in order to optimally produce the results that we want to. And there are a whole lot of other reasons in there, and ideologies and philosophies and things like that, things that I've come across, people that I've dealt with, people that I talk to on a regular basis, where I haven't really decided to go down the rabbit hole on this podcast. So today's episode is actually about why I won't address nutrition with a client first. So obviously, number 1 is when people come to me, they come to me to get stronger. They come to me to get fitter. Whether you are part of the Unstoppable Dad Project community or you are part of our Fusion community, which is our other training business, you are coming to me and we set up this precedence before we start to get fitter and to get stronger. So that is the first thing I'm going to address. So by addressing nutrition first, yes, it can play a major role in whatever your goals are, especially if your goals are aesthetics based. But the training side of things is what I want to address first. And one of the major reasons for wanting to address those training things first is, number one, it is my area of expertise. Number two is what I've noticed. And over the last decade, there's been different times where I have tried to address nutrition with people first, rightly or wrongly. We have gone to the extremes where we ask people to abstain from the things that they enjoy and try and get them these extreme results over a short period of time. But the one thing that I've learnt, the biggest thing, I won't say the one thing, there's a lot of little things that I've learnt, but the biggest thing that I have learnt is that if you are not doing something physical with your body, now this doesn't even have to be training sessions, but if we use the gym, what we have here as the context, right? If you are unable to dedicate 3 hours a week to yourself, to move physically, get yourself moving better, become fitter, become stronger, then what you need to do from a nutrition point of view is going to be too hard. So if you are not already doing something physical, now it doesn't have to be training. It can be prioritizing 30 minutes every morning to go for a walk, or it can be, you might do some riding or some cycling, some triathlon type training, but you prioritize that time and it's regular. You've done that for a 4 to 6 week period and you're able to schedule that in and you're able to continue to do it. Okay. And it's not just, I've done it for a week. Now I need to go and do the nutrition stuff. For us, and for when I deal with people, hey, you need to show me consistency in your training and in those actions, because it is easier and it takes less time than what you will have to contribute, less overall time than what you will have to contribute to addressing, or potentially addressing some of the things you need to around your diet or your nutrition. So that's the first reason why I address training first and I leave nutrition on the back burner. Now, if somebody is unable to show me the consistency in that, we're not just going to move on to looking at the nutrition side of things. We are just going to focus on becoming consistent with the movement piece. So whether that is going to, and in our programs, in the programs that I run, there is a level of, I was going to say consistency, but it's not consistency. The consistency is what you want to build. There is a level of accountability where, whether it is online or in-house, myself, one of the coaches that works for me, is checking in and making sure that you are doing it. So if you're not able to create that consistency, even with that accountability, I can tell you right now, in my experience, whatever it is that you want to do from a nutrition point of view, whether it's focused on weight loss or whatever, you are setting yourself up for failure, because you can't just dedicate 3 hours a week to doing this thing where, maybe all you've got to do is show up, or all you've got to do is put the walking shoes on and get out the door. So that's number one, why I will look at the training piece first. I will look at the movement piece first before we will start to look at the nutrition. Number two is, by getting somebody moving and consistently moving, we get all the inherent physical benefits that come with training. You get the endorphin release. You start to feel more confident in your body and what it can do. And sometimes with that, there are a lot of little things that can happen. Number one, what I've observed that people tend to make little incremental sustainable changes within their diet because they understand that one fits in with the other. It's not like me throwing a 6-week meal plan at them or a 12-week meal plan and them not becoming better educated around what they should consume or how they should structure things. It's like little incremental stuff. They maybe cut back on certain things that maybe there was a little bit of overconsumption of. They tweak things here and there just because, maybe they were skipping breakfast and they're now eating breakfast because they've got to eat in the morning. And they start to ask some questions at that point around how to get the most out of their training, because they've built up this consistency and this habit within their movement. And then on top of that, they've started to feel better about themselves. They've started to feel more confident in themselves, more confident in what their body can do. And the other thing with that, and I guess another part of that, is sometimes when doing that, the goals change. What I believe is the vast majority of people that I deal with, and I'm not talking about athletes, we're talking about a whole different conversation when we're talking about eating and training for performance and eating and training for health and well-being. But most of the people that I deal with, the reason why they believe they need to completely tighten up what they are eating and what they are doing is that they want to lose weight. And they are using the number on the scales as a metric of their success. And not only have we changed our approach, or have I changed my approach over the last 12 months, where I won't address nutrition first until you can show me consistency in movement, number one. But number two, I actually won't weigh and measure people anymore. And that's almost been to the detriment of us as a business. But I truly believe that if you are moving well, you are eating well in a healthy and a happy way. Yes, you have to be happy around your nutrition as well too. Because if you get too wrapped around the axle about what you need to do and going to the extremes, it's not sustainable and you're not going to be able to do it. And realistically, the vast majority, 98% of people I am dealing with are doing this for their overall health and well-being, and that the mental aspect of what they are consuming from a food point of view needs to be taken into consideration, and the pressure that goes with that. So we don't weigh and measure people anymore, because with the weight loss side of things, people, like, even if you do all the right things, you need to it's going to come to an end if you do the right things. But what I've found is all too often it becomes this never-ending cycle that people just can't get themselves out of. And it becomes this pursuit of, I want to lose 1 kilo at a time or 2 kilos at a time. And it becomes obsessive, and it becomes unhealthy. And if the reason you are doing it, which I believe the vast majority of people that will be listening to this podcast will be doing it to be either A, be more physically capable themselves so that they can be a better role model for the people that they are leading, whether that be their family or their community, or they just want to feel better. They want to feel better within themselves, so they lack the confidence. And when you start with the training piece and you start to see that your body can do more things, you do, and generally when you're adding in movement, even if you're haven't changed a single thing about the way you eat, you will start to see some changes in what happens in your body. But more importantly, if we set the focus up from the get-go around what your body can do rather than how it looks, that for me has given much more long-term sustained results for people, rather than being like, hey, we need to get, the old sayings that abs are made in the kitchen, and it's 90% nutrition and it's 10% training and da-da-da-da-da. Well, I'd argue that point from the point of long-term sustainability. Yes, if you want to weigh and measure your food and you want to count your macros and you want to do all that, yes, you can get accelerated results from a body composition point of view. But at what cost? If it is the cost of your... I'm going to say mental health, because I think when you start obsessing over food to a point where you're trying to lose 1 to 2 kilos on the scale, it does adversely affect your mental health. But then by doing that and obsessing over that 1 or 2 kilos, you then lose interest, you lose the fire that you get around the gains that you're getting from moving well and getting stronger and getting fitter and all these byproducts that happen when you move. I think that that's something that needs to be looked at. And one of the reasons why within our programs we've taken those 2 steps of, number one, you need to get the movement piece right first. Whether that be doing some form of structured training, like following a program, showing up 3 times a week, because that's 3 hours a week. If you can't allocate 3 hours a week, I will guarantee you whatever actions you need to do in order to lose that 5 kilos, 10 kilos, whatever it is from a nutrition point of view, you are just simply not going to be able to do it. Or you might be able to do it for a short term, but like there's an underlying issue that needs to be addressed within, your ability to stick to a plan. And the movement piece is generally the easiest one to do, because if you are following a program, you are going to a gym, you are going to a community or a facility of people that are able to hold you accountable and help you kind of stay on track and, ignite that motivation. If you can't do that, and you can't do that 3 times a week, then the nutrition piece, when it's on you, is going to be too much. So that's number one. Number two, the increment by doing that, excuse me. By doing that, you will find that incremental changes will happen within other parts of your lifestyle without even really thinking about it. If you have a coach, you will be able to ask them smart questions that pertain to you, not just blanket answers. And you will be able to make those small changes. And in return, you will start to feel happier about yourself. You will start to be in a better place. And you will start to be able to move your mindset around what it is you want to achieve. Because even though when you started, it may have been around losing weight, losing body fat percentage, and so on and so forth, as you move through it, you can shift that into, hey, I want to lift more. I want to be able to run faster. Or I want to be able to do that 10K walk in less time than what I was doing. You can start to put some metrics of your success and start to look at what your body can do rather than how it looks. Because then when you start looking at those things and you start moving and driving towards something that ignites you, the other stuff can just take care of itself. And, you can still have the cheesecake. You could still have the cookies. You can still do all that stuff that makes you happy. You can still have a couple of glasses of wine and a couple of or a beer on the weekend with friends, and not be weird around what you're having for food. Like, you need to enjoy yourself, because when you are training for health, again, I emphasize this is not when we're talking about training for performance and trying to get to that top 1%. We are talking about training for overall health. Then by doing that, you can really start to make some inroads into your long-term health and well-being, not just getting a short-term result. So that, we're almost at 20 minutes. I try and keep these solo podcasts at 20 minutes, but that's kind of part one of the nutrition talk. And that's why I won't address nutrition first. So my advice to you is and look, this is, again, I'll just emphasize this. This is based off my experiences and obviously my bias, okay? But I have seen it work over and over again with hundreds of people, and I have seen the other direction not work and create potentially some issues that weren't there in the first place. But there's not a one-size-fits-all. You may be somebody who, thrives in an environment where you do address the nutrition side of things first, and then the physical comes afterwards. And if it is, all power to you. This isn't, as I said, I'm not trying to preach it's a one-size-fits-all. This is what I have found has worked. But my advice would be, if you haven't got the physical side of things down now, if you're not allocating some time to yourself to move, doesn't have to be exercise. It doesn't have to be like a class or weights or anything like that. It could just be simply allocating time to go for a walk. Get that piece down and get consistent with that, because then dialing in the nutrition and dialing in that side of things then becomes easier. So what I'm going to do on the next episode is I'm going to go into some guidelines around what we do when we do start to talk about nutrition, what we do recommend. It is, again, not meant to be a one-size-fits-all, but just to kind of give you guys some ideas on what we do and what we look at and what we address. But that is why I won't address nutrition first with someone who doesn't already have the physical side of things, the movement side of things dialed in. All right. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your time, especially if you've gotten to now 19 minutes and 36 seconds in. Hope everyone's having a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.